Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to ask everybody to think of a busy emergency department. A busy emergency department in an inner city, and a massive natural disaster occurs, and there are hundreds of patients now flooding that emergency department. They're treating people in the hallways. They're treating people in the parking lot. It is a crisis, a massive crisis. There are patients everywhere. It's not the doctor's fault that patients are everywhere. It's not the nurse's fault that the crisis has suddenly overwhelmed that emergency department. And it is ridiculous to assert that. The problem is that the pipe isn't big enough. You can only flow so much water or so many patients through an emergency department if there's 30 beds or 35 beds or 40 beds. And nobody builds emergency departments for thousands of patients. You can't do that. And when the crisis happens, it's not the doctor's fault. It's not the nurse's fault. It is the diameter of the pipeline. Well, how do you get the pipeline to have a bigger diameter? Well, you have to have more beds, right? You have to have more space. You have to have more money. So for months, we've been asking for budget. And we've got people sitting on this committee who voted against money to go to the problem. In fact, some people want to close the Department of Homeland Security entirely, yet at the same time screaming we need more resources on the border. How ridiculous is that? It's theatrics. It's just theatrics. That's all it is. In the 1960s, the progressive liberals called our soldiers baby killers. Remember that? They came home from Vietnam and were spat on. And now, CBP is being called Nazi concentration camp operators. How insane is that? How ridiculous. And it harkens back to a dark day in America when we called our soldiers baby killers, when in fact they were just doing what the country had asked them to do. Theatrics. Let me begin by setting the record straight. This notion that Republicans and conservatives are somehow unconcerned about the plight of people is just wrong and unfair. I run 2 free health care clinics in Tennessee out of my own pocket. And I get, people who are progressive liberals telling me, we need more taxes to take care of more people. And I say, well, come volunteer in my clinic and help these people who are in need if you really care. You know how many have taken me up on it in 4 years? None. Not a single one has come and volunteered in my free health care clinics. While I've offered it and offered it. Theatrics. As Politico reported in an article last month, the U.S. Border Patrol apprehended nearly 85,000 family members in May, a 44% increase over the prior month, a historic high. For comparison, the Border Patrol apprehended approximately 107,000 family members in all of 2018. We've had a natural disaster and the ER is overwhelmed. They need resources. They need Congress to do our job. But what does the left want to do? We didn't acknowledge it was a crisis when we probably should have, so let's just blame President Trump. We'll say he's the one putting these kids in cages. Oh, wait, that picture was from 2015. Obama was president. Right. We didn't recognize it was a crisis. We tried to play it off as not one, and now we've been caught, and let's just blame the president. Theatrics. Listen, it's time for Congress to do its job and get the resources to these men and women who are on the border taking care of this crisis. Mr. Chairman, I thank you for the opportunity to share my perspective.
Am I the reason you get stoned every week now? Build up integrity, got you texting, emailing me, wanting me to feel with you. baby. Just face reality, move on.
Sometimes it's hard to face reality.